Hello and welcome to Benin Network Center. Echoes of call for dialogue and peace rather than protests continue to reverberate across Nigeria. Plus, forestalling breaches of peace before, during and post-Edo State governorship election is in September. This is the outlook of our focus on Panaroma today, reaching you live from the Benin Network Center. I am Obedo. Minister of Works David Umahi has added his voice to the appeal on Nigerians not to embark on the planned nationwide protests. Mr. Umahi, who was speaking during an official visit to Kano, stressed that President Tinubu is not unmindful of the unintended consequences of some hard decisions of his administration. Already, he has assured that necessary measures are being taken to mitigate such effects and make life better for all Nigerians.
Mr. President is doing everything to reset the economy, and there are a lot of positive indices already in place. He has, put in place a lot of palliatives, fertilizer, rice, CNG vehicles, and so on and so forth. And of course, students' loans. So there will be no need for anybody in this Asian city of Kano to join any protest. Protest will not do anything for us. Yes, there are some hardships being experienced as a result of hard decisions, but those decisions needed to be taken. We have to show patriotism, support Mr. President, and in a very short time, all the full indices and benefits of all these hard decisions will begin to manifest.
And back here in Edo State, Governor Godwin Obaseki is pleading with all Nigerians not to allow the prevailing circumstances in the country make them take actions that will make the situation much worse than they are already. The governor made the appeal while speaking to journalists in Benin City, Edo State. Good luck, Enaini reports.
Mr. Obaseki describes the economic situation in the country as unfriendly. He attributed the cause to the inability of government to sustain the trust of citizens garnered over the years and urged the political class to always do the needful in order to give citizens a sense of belonging.
It's about transparency, it's about honesty, and about willingness to serve the public good, not private interests. One solution is for government to come out clean so that the people trust them and understand and work with government to get out of the problems we face.
The governor said, making the country great again requires lots of sacrifices, which must be spearheaded by the political class by cutting down the cost of governance.
So it's unfortunate we're where we are, but I believe we can come out of it. We're going around talking to our citizens to see how do we resolve these issues, these problems we have. Let us not do things that will dig us deeper.
He assured Nigerians that things will turn out better and seeks for more understanding. In Benin, good luck in NTA News.
The Oba of Benin, Ewa II, has appealed to the public to give the federal government enough time to implement its economic policies that will help alleviate the current economic hardship being experienced by most Nigerians. A statement by the Chief Press Secretary to the monarch indicates that the Oba appeals to those allegedly planning the August 1st nationwide protests to shelve the plan. The monarch also appeals to the federal government to intensify efforts in implementing its economic and security policies. Election matters. Security of lives and property during electioneering has remained a major benchmark for assessing the credibility of any election. The police force has the constitutional responsibility of providing internal security, which includes ensuring that elections are held in an atmosphere of peace and stability. In this report, Jude Abugu takes a look at the role of the police in stemming the tide of election violence and what should be done to reduce tension during electioneering.
As a critical component of the electoral process, resources are usually to ensure safety of persons, election equipment, and materials before, during, and after the elections. This involves heavy deployment of security apparatus to guard voting centers, election facilities, and public places. In spite of these security arrangements, successive elections in Nigeria are replete with a high level of political violence, such as ballot box snatching, vote buying, voter suppression, shooting, and attacks on opposing political figures.
The police can do within their own limited, possibilities. They can't go beyond what they can offer. The issue is parents should, go into themselves and talk to their children, especially the young ones.
The same people that want to send you to come and cause problems and kill other people's, where are their children, where are their wife? Their family are not here. And you are the one you are suffering it.
If you set the ball rolling for violence, that will create voter apathy. Everybody will be scared. I hope that election day is going to be a do or die affair.
Respondents blame the situation on failure of the law enforcement agencies in prosecuting political actors who, through their actions and utterances, incite violence.
Police knows the people that are most likely to constitute violence, either by their words, by the encouragement of the criminals, or by directly arming the criminals, or even by themselves that could acquire these arms and use it for whatever purposes.
During the elections, due to hardship, young boys now, they go put hand for bad things.
As activities for September 21 Edo governorship election intensify, the electoral umpire is engaging in series of dialogue and consultations to sensitize politicians on the need to play by the rules.
There is always tension in the election day, and it's all over the world. But our ability to handle such tension is what determines the success of the election.
The Edo state government is also working with security agencies to mop up illegal firearms that have been proliferated into the state ahead of the governorship election. In Benin, Jude Abugu, NTA News.
And that's our discussion. That's the backgrounder to our discussion today. Let's take a break. Nationwide continues shortly.
The Council of Our Fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together. Our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Panorama, reaching you live from Benin Network Center. And on our focus today, in our discussion segment, we'll be talking about the role of the police in stemming election violence. And we have here live with me in the studio the former Director of National Orientation Agency, Edo State, and a public affairs analyst, Austin Odile. Sir, you're welcome to Panorama.
Thank you very much.
All right. Tensions are beginning to run high in Edo State as we move closer to the election. Why can't we have it right? Why can't we get it, why can't it be fraternal the way we conduct electioneering process?
Well, that has to do with a lot of issues. First and foremost, political offices or positions are seriously monetized in this country. So that alone is a driving force why a lot of persons are desperate. When I mean desperate, I mean desperation at its peak to ensure that they get themselves into offices, because it's like the winner takes all. So the spoils of office are so numerous. It's like getting to a political office is a means to an end. And that once you get there, it's like, oh, it has become an uhuru, an Eldorado for you and your generations yet unborn. That is why, to me, I'll call it a battle, not contest now, for political offices in the country has been fraught with a lot of violence.
All right, there's this trust deficit, when it comes to government, institutions like the police and INEC. Why do you think this is so?
Let me tell you, like they say, in most cases they say the name by which people call you is the one you tell them. So you give them, say, this is my name, so you are known by that name. The institutions you have mentioned, for example, public institutions in themselves are not populated by angels. They are populated by Nigerians. So our brothers, our sisters, our friends. So if the society, for example, the society is wrought with corruption, with whatever you want to call it, let me just say corruption, and that all is not going well, definitely, these people there, for example, we know there's a lot of hardship in the country. And for the first time, at least, you've been told of how many Nigerians are multidimensionally poor, almost 200 million Nigerians. And these persons, some of them are in this public officers in these public institutions. So whatever affects the nose, like they say, affects the eye. So it affects them. So this trust deficit is inherent, is innate, let me say, in almost every Nigerian now, because it's like, oh, if I'm honest, hunger will kill me, or I will not make it in life. I will not make it, but I must show some dishonesty. I must do some put off on negative tendencies, provided I do it with wisdom. I'm smart about it. I'm not caught. Then that is when you say, yes, you have made it. So when you're talking of the police and all the rest, like they say, when one finger brings oil, it soils the others. They are doing tremendously well within their available capacity and resources. But we know there are some bad elements. Outside these bad elements, to me, the Nigerian police is a fantastic organization. All
right, when we talk about election violence, a lot of people tend to envisage or look at only gun wielding when it comes to election violence. What about, bringing out false declaration of false results? Is that not in a way election violence?
Yes, there are so many. Election violence, like you said, is not just gun wielding or fighting or creating or causing confusion or to disrupt the electoral process. You have physical violence, you have verbal violence, you have psychological violence, and then you have, of course, emotional violence. Exactly. So let us talk the physical, for example. That is the one we see. Like, this one cuts across all strata. It is intra-party and it is inter-party. And it is between supporters. And it has become ethnic and then sectarian. So that is why it has assumed a very broad and wider dimension. Then when you're talking of where maybe false results are declared and all the rest, I want to state that The electoral umpire, INEC, for example, is just one of the stakeholders. In short, as an electoral umpire, it cannot on its own. It has its rules, it has its guidelines. It needs the people, the critical stakeholders, starting from the political parties, the leadership, the candidates, and then their supporters. And of course, the ordinary man in the street, that is the voters. They have, all these persons I've mentioned, as critical stakeholders in the electoral process or processes, have their own rules to play. The Constitution is there. The 2022 amended Electoral Act is there. And of course, you have the guidelines that INEC releases, and of course, the constitutions of the respective political parties. Now, I want to ask, you and I know, let us take the case of Edo State as a case study. Elections are around the corner, September 21st to be precise. Since last year that INEC released a timetable of activities, starting with conduct of party congresses from the world, local to the state, and even national, and of course, party primaries. You and I know, you are in the media space. You know what has happened in Edo State. There is a litany of court cases cutting across all the major political parties in the state. Why? Stemming from either the crisis that has erupted before and during the party primaries. Cases are still in court. Some limbs were broken. Some cars burnt down. So all of this goes to show that INEC alone, the wrong finger cannot continuously be pointed at INEC as if it is the responsibility of INEC to ensure that there is party supremacy, or that the constitution of the political parties are respected, are obeyed, and that the rules are followed, and that money bags masquerading as political godfathers and godmothers do not hijack the process. Because what these persons do is to deploy their ill-gotten wealth or resources as investments, of which they expect returns on their investment. That is why constantly you hear this fight or the struggle between a political godfather and his godson or goddaughter. So, my dear, the problem is for all Nigerians. Not until each and every one of us will learn to do the right thing,
we will not get you right.
We will not get to that level. Things will remain as they are.
Let's pray that we get it right. And so, what are your expectations from the police before, during, and even after the election?
Don't forget that the police, according to the Police Act, they have their responsibilities. First and foremost, it is to protect the lives and property of every Nigerian. Be that as it may, it has a responsibility to forestall any threat to public peace and order. And so they are guided by their operational rules, which I mean to say that they have their roles, constitutional roles, the one imposed on them by the act establishing the police force. So they cannot act outside all of this. That is why before the elections, during, and after elections, for example, what they do is to deploy their human resources, at least one, to strategic places, as to ensure that the Nigerians perform their civic role and obligations without any hindrance. How do they do this? There are, they firm up preparations by training and retraining, and then for them to be abreast with the Constitution, their constitutional role, the guidelines of the political parties, and that of INEC, most especially the Electoral Act. And so, when they are deployed without arms. That is just to show that they are performing purely civil duties. So what they do is that they have, through their PPRO and the state commissioners of police and the area commanders and all the rest, they are deployed heavily. They interact, starting with the media, they interact with the political parties and all stakeholders in the electoral process to tell them the need to eschew violence and to play the game according to the rule.
All right. So we have been discussing the role of security agency in stemming political violence. Before we let you go, sir, what form of assistance do you think that the security agencies that are going to be on manning this very, very important section of the election to ensure that all goes well, what assistance should they be given?
First and foremost, logistics is key. No, number one, I say training. Because when you want to deploy your officers and men, for example, they need to know the rules of the game. They too, they need to know so that they will know their boundaries, what to look out for during the elections and all that, so that any infractions, at least, they will know how to combat. Then they need logistics. When you go through police formations, for example, they don't have operational vehicles. That is key. These people need to move from place to place. Then their personal kits and kits, uniforms, buttons, and whatever gear they will need. All these ones, they need to be provided. And of course, if there are incentives for them, like maybe allowances, all this should be paid up front, at least to motivate them, at least to focus merely and purely on their jobs.
And more importantly, residents should also learn to give support.
Yes, of course.
To the and encourage them.
When you see, you say something. At least because information is key. When citizens play their role, for example, by saying things and then reporting to the police, I think to go a long way to help them in curbing whatever act of violence.
So thank you very much. We've been discussing the role of security agencies in stemming political violence. And with me doing justice to this topic is the former director of National Orientation Agency, Edo State, and he's also a public affairs analyst, Austin Odili. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us.
Always to be with you.
All right, moving on now. Religious intolerance has again been identified as one of the major causes of conflict of most societies of Nigeria. To stem the tide, the Kuka Center, National Human Rights Commission, and NASFAT have organized a grassroots sensitization in Benin to tackle this anomaly. Rosemary Omani reports.
The program brought together Muslims and Christians, as well as professionals from different backgrounds, who rendered diverse opinions on how to achieve a Nigeria free of religious intolerance. For the project coordinator, Hajia Halimat Oyedele, Nigeria has suffered a series of religious extremism and tensions, which needed to abate for progress.
The basic aim of this program is to promote interreligious harmony. This issue of you must be a Christian, you must be a Muslim, you must come to my fold, we don't want it.
Islam is all about tolerance, Islam is all about accommodating, and Islam is all about acceptability.
The country is divided along so many fault lines: ethnicity, religion.
Religion is a source of conflict, not only in Nigeria, but all over the world.
Guest speaker and a lawyer, Nuruddin Asunigi, says the Constitution provides for freedom of religion and that no religion is superior to the other.
We all are children of Adam, regardless of the faith we say we profess. What first is important is how to protect our humanity.
A two-man panelist made up of a Muslim and a pastor was set up to throw more light on the issue.
Sentence 8 talks about freedom of thought, conscience and religion, including freedom to change your religion and belief.
Yes, religion control a lot, but the individuals are accountable for their decisions and actions.
Goodwill messages flowed freely.
Say, for God so loved the world. He didn't say, for God so loved the Christians or the Muslims.
There is something we should understand, that God Almighty, the Almighty Allah, did not create human beings to belong to one religion.
There was question and answer time to illuminate gray areas, and the participants sure had some meaningful takeaways. In Benin, Rosemary Omani, NTA News.
And now to sports. Nigerian table tennis duo of Olajide Omotayo and Aruna Kadri have suffered early exit in the Olympics men's singles category in Paris. For more on this and other sports stories, let's join Suleiman Musa for Sports Update.
We begin with the Olympics, as table tennis star Olajide Omotayo has become the first Team Nigeria athlete to exit the 2024 Paris Olympic Games, as he lost his round of 64 game against Noshad Alamian of Iran in the singles category. Omotayo took the first set 11-6 but lost the next 4 sets, as his 4-1 defeat marked the end of the road for him. In a related development, Africa's #1, Aruna Kadri, is also out of the men's singles after his loss to Romanian Edward 4-3. Meanwhile, the senior women's national football team Super Falcons will be out for their first point of Paris 2024 when they take on world champion Spain on Sunday evening. The coach Randy Waldrum-led side lost their first game 1-0 to Brazil and will now fancy their chances against the Europeans as they target a place in their next round. In another development, in line with its mandate to kick out all forms of trafficking of persons in Nigeria, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIC, led by its Director General, Professor Fatima Waziri Azi, organized an all-female novelty football match as part of activities to mark the 2024 World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, with the theme, Leave No Child Behind in the Fight Against Trafficking.
It's just a way of having fun, but also using the same avenue to sensitize people, to create that awareness, about issues of human trafficking.
The event today really marked, our partnership and the effort that we all put in to fight against trafficking in human beings.
This novelty female football match, which I was also part of, is one of the activities for the whole week that we have dedicated to amplify the message about child trafficking.
In other news, Nigerian Super Sun Eagles have failed in their bid to qualify for Africa Beach Soccer Nations Cup in Egypt after losing 5-6 to Mauritania in the return fixture of their qualifying tie. The Sun Eagles, who just made a return to continental competition after a 4-year break, won the first leg 5-4 last Saturday but fell short at home, with Mauritania qualifying on away goals rule. With Sport Update, Suleiman Musa, NTA News.
And that sports report concludes Panorama from the Benin Network Center. Please stay tuned to the NTA for more news updates. I am Obehio Toboa Prasai saying good afternoon.